This is the Mic'd Up with Joe Webb podcast, and I got my buddy Laney House right here. He's a comedian, hat maker, a father, and about anything else I'm sure that he could think of that he wants to do. I'm sure that he's that too. I've known you for a long time, brother, and you've always. I think you're one of those that, man, you stick out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I used to not like that. I wished I fit in more with different crowds, but as I get older, the more I enjoy that.
Yeah. No, you bring, I would say, happiness to people.
Well, I hope so.
If that makes sense, there's not a dull moment when people talk to you. There's always, and man, I hear stories after stories. I'm talking to Scooter, and
most of them stories, they're the only ones that remember them, though. I don't.
I gotta tell you one story that I always remember, and I told Casey this a while back. It was me and Scooter. We were at the Daresville Festival.
Oh Lord!
And that's just wild already.
Yeah.
But we're at the Daresville Festival, and you're sitting. I think it was back somewhere near that. It was like the railroad area back there, and me and Scooter walk up to you, and it's just you, right? And we said, or Scooter said, "Laney, where's your wife and kids at?" He said, they got the yellow fever and died. I still remember this to that day. And if there's a story I tell people about you, that's the story right there.
Probably been about 5 years ago, talking about the Daresville Festival. Have you met the police we got, the chief of police we got now?
No.
His name's Mike. He's a super nice guy.
Yeah.
He's like a kung fu taekwondo expert. Could just whoop me up one side and down the other if he had to there in Daresville. And I've been watching a lot of those videos on my phone, where people's auditing the police and police are doing something wrong and they record them,
Yeah.
So me and the kids was, I was going to a horse sale in South Carolina the next day, and I wasn't going to be here. It's a Friday. So I told the kids, let's just sneak in. Let's don't pay nothing to get in. Just act like don't look at them when we go by there. Let's just walk right on through there. So that's what we did. I give them some money. They went over and get them something to eat, and I was sitting out there on that little rock wall right there.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, the police come over, chief, and he told them kids, said, "Why ain't y'all wearing a bracelet?" So I thought, man, they got emission bracelets now. That's what it is, So
yeah.
I said, man, you got a problem with my kids. Don't come up here talking to my kids. You come up here and talk to me. He said, I'm talking to these kids, all right? I started just getting plumb ill, plumb red-faced over it. And then come find out, he kept on talking to the kids about bracelets and stuff. Come find out he was trying to give them one of them little rubber bracelets that said the Daresville. The whole time I'm thinking, somebody get their phone. This is my time. I'm going to go viral right here.
Oh, man.
But I didn't know him at the time, but now my shop's down there in downtown of Daresville, and he's a super nice guy.
Their building is like, y'all are like side by side, right?
No, I'm on the other end of Daresville. I'm over on Gilmer Street.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's still all downtown, though, ain't it?
Yes, sir. You got the long strip right there that goes alongside the railroad track, then you got the little short strip. I'm on the little short strip on the end.
Okay. So, did you grow up in Adairsville?
Not in the Bartow County, in the Daresville School District over in Snow Springs area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh. So what brought you, did you go to Adairsville High School?
Very little. I think 6 weeks, and I was through with high school.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So it just wasn't your cup of tea, huh?
It sure wouldn't. it ain't for everybody. It's more important for girls, I feel like, than it is for guys, 'cause I always been a heavy equipment operator and been able to make pretty good money, you know.
Right, right. What grade did you end up at?
Ninth grade.
Ninth grade.
Yeah, last grade completed was 8th.
And then you just went straight into, I guess, the workforce, huh?
Yeah, I sure did.
Well, you turned out good, so, and you know as much as everybody else. So.
I don't know.
Hey, they ain't some of your hardest workers, man, are in those tractors.
Well, my grandpa, I was real close to him, and he quit school in the 1st grade. And one time I was talking to him about it when I was a kid. He's been passed away probably about 20 years now. But I asked him about that, and he said, well, daggum, I was 17-year-old.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What all did y'all do growing up?
I didn't have nobody much over in Snow Springs. I'd run around and rode horses, rode anything that had 4 legs that could hold me up, and stayed in the woods about all my childhood.
No kid, like hunting and stuff?
Hunting, fishing, just being out there, doing anything.
Yeah. That's, I feel like anybody you ask from North Georgia, that's probably going to be the same. It's going to be that we grew up in a good place, man.
I had a creek right there beside me. So that was always a fun thing. Then Bobby Cox bought the property that butts up to where I grew up.
That's right.
So,
you ever met him?
Yeah.
Really?
One time, just like we did at the Daresville Festival, me and Casey snuck into a party up there. And they was raising money for some politician. I told her to just don't look at nobody. Just walk right in there.
Just act like one of them.
And that's what we did. And they was Orlando Wilson was up there, and Rick Camp used to pitch way back before our day for the Braves.
Yeah.
And Bobby was there. He's signing baseball hats and baseballs and stuff.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That is all. I think I went to school. I want to say I went to school with somebody that was kin to him, which I'm sure there was somebody being right there in Adairsville.
Well, I think them Boswells, if any of them Boswells was.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, I went to school with a bunch of Boswells.
Yeah, that's what it was.
A bunch of them. Definitely a bunch of them.
When he first, I had I guess I was probably 13, 14 whenever he moved up there. And I was up there on the property line just looking through the woods, and I guarantee you he thought he moved in there with a bunch of hillbillies, because I had an old silver belly hat that I wore, and it was split right here. And my grandma sewed it up, but I wore it all the time. And I had shot some squirrels, had squirrels hanging off my belt and everything, and I was just standing there in the bushes looking at him through the bushes, you know.
That's awesome. When did you and Casey meet? Was that kind of around that same time, or?
Nah, I was
How old was y'all?
been married 20 years now. And then
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Man.
This past October made 20 years, and she was 18-year-old when we met, and she'd got in trouble. Her daddy got mad at her and told her she wasn't gonna go nowhere Saturday night, and her punishment was to go hear us play bluegrass music on a Saturday night instead of going out with her friends. And I was playing Oostin' Holler there, and I seen her and her sister walk in. And whenever you play bluegrass music, and especially places like I played a lot back then,
yeah,
any kind of pretty girl really stands out to you, you know.
Right.
Right. So I talked to her there, and outside, got her phone number, talked to her that night. And now we got 4 kids together.
And the rest is history.
I reckon.
You done been too far now.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's that's it. That's the game.
Yeah, we've been through a lot together.
Yeah, man. And I feel like that's what makes some of that so special. You know what I mean? She probably knows you just as much as you know yourself.
Yeah.
That is awesome. You said 4 kids.
4 kids.
And you have one more kid also. Like
Yeah, I got a boy that's 23-year-old. And I
That's
had
right.
him when I met her, and he's a real good boy. I'm real proud of all my kids.
what? I know 2 of them play softball.
Yeah,
right?
they softball players, and I got Eli. Then I got little Lane. He's went up to heaven already. He passed away in 2015.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, man.
that's
Dang.
all right. He was born on my birthday.
If he knew what was going down here right now, he'd know he's in a better place up there.
It wouldn't take much to realize that.
Man. So so what's crazy to me is I remember, what'd you say your oldest son's name is?
Quentin.
Quentin.
Yes.
What's crazy to me is I remember being, man, I was probably 14, 16 maybe when I met you. I'm not sure.
He was pretty young.
Yeah, I was young, and I remember him being really young. So you want to talk about something making you feel old. I mean,
Shoot, them boys I work with now, I get talking to them. A lot of them's born in like 2003 and stuff.
really?
Yeah, man. I used to be the young feller at work, you know.
I know, and that's how I. You know what's crazy is I still feel like that. I still feel young in my heart. I feel like, and then I see somebody or I hear somebody like yourself that just said that you have a 23-year-old,
Right.
and I remember him being young, and then he hits you and you're like, oh wait.
A lot of times I think, I'll be 44 in May, and I think, how in the world did I ever get 44-year-old?
How did I make it? You know what I mean? Lord have mercy. Speaking of age, I heard this, and I know you'll respect this too. I heard this song the other day. I know you don't listen to a lot of the modern country, the country out now.
There's a few coming out now that makes me have hope for country music, but
it's
been a while.
It's starting to turn in, and it always has. But before we say that, there was a song that I heard. I don't remember what it was on, but talking about age, it says, I ain't doing half bad for the halfway mark. Talking about being 30, 40 years old.
Yeah, you might be at the halfway mark, but I think I'm probably past that a little piece.
I think I don't know, man. Depends on how long you live. Some
Yeah.
live to 60, some live to 90. I guess it's
Sometimes when I get to thinking about how things is going, I don't know if I want to be another 43 years.
It's man. And you know what makes me mad? What tears me up inside about what you're sitting there talking about is that I remember in 3rd grade when 9/11 happened. I was in 3rd grade when 9/11 happened.
I know where I was at too.
And I think everybody does.
Yep.
It's wild. And do you remember how this whole country,
It was amazing.
everybody just came
Yes.
together, and there were so many people trying to join the military
I was almost one of them, but I didn't go.
There was so many people trying to do it, they shoot them away.
Yeah.
And, well, as a matter of fact, so many joined that when I want to say this last time that I was in the Army, because I went in twice.
Did you?
Yeah, I didn't do it just once. I ended up doing it twice. But anyway, I'm pretty sure that they were letting people out because we had too many people.
Really?
Yeah. And I think it had something to do with the fact that there was so many people in from that time frame, that 2001 time frame.
Yeah, I went when I was turned 18, and they was only doing 4-year enlistments at the time, and 4 years when you're 18 seems like an eternity, you know.
Oh,
and I just didn't want to. I was scared of it, and then I went back in 2001. What I wanted to do wasn't interested in me on kind of my education, but sometimes I wished I'd have went. I got a lot of respect for the boys that went. I got a lot of good friends that's went. They got a lot that suffered with a lot of problems on kind of what they experienced over there.
Oh yeah. I feel like it's a dying pride.
Yeah.
You ever talk to these? I mean, you see it, man. These Vietnam vets and these mostly Vietnam vets, I would say. They wear that Vietnam hat they always wear. And used to, probably seen the World War hats.
Yeah,
Whatnot.
there was a lot more. I remember a lot of those guys.
They had a lot of pride, man.
Yeah.
And there's still a lot out there, but they had so much pride in it, and I'm afraid that people today, they don't see that pride because of where the country's at right now. They don't see what to be prideful about, if that makes sense.
I think people soft now. I don't think people wants to do what they have to do to make it a good country.
Well, it looks fun on a video game.
Right.
It looks fun on a video game, but I don't know, man. It just truthfully breaks my heart because I remember this country, man. How strong they were.
We can talk about how bad things are right now, but we can still talk about how much better things are than they ever been too at the same time. Like it wouldn't been long ago when you wouldn't have the opportunity to put this out and do this kind of thing. Artists and musicians can just put out whatever they want, and people can like it or people can hate it. You don't have to have no record exec or no TV exec telling you what you can do, what you can't do. So there's a lot of upsides and downsides.
There are, and that brings up a good point. The freedom that we have now when it comes to especially music.
Right.
Man, I can't tell you how many people I knew when I lived up in Nashville that I guess you would say caught their break from social media.
Right. Like I think Tyler Childers and a lot of those guys, and what's the other guy's name?
Zach Top.
No, Zach Bryan.
Zach Brown. Oh, Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I don't like him. I don't think he's much of a songwriter. I think he just jumbles up a bunch of words. I don't think he paints a picture like a songwriter should.
Right.
But people like him. But
people like him, yeah.
What set him up for success to me is the state of country music prior to that. And somebody was just looking for something real, something gritty, and they thought that was it, and they took off with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And
well, I don't know nothing, but that's just my opinion, though.
I don't know neither.
Anybody thinks they know anything's crazy.
Well, it's definitely wild how, it's way before my time. Well, I'm not going to say that because even in the 90s and early 2000s, before social media really become really big, these boys was in the back seat of Cadillacs and in vans, and which they still are, but they was out earning fan by fan, and it's kind of a good thing now if you really think about it. Sort of, you're gaining a bunch more fans at one time instead of one here and one here and one here. So I guess it can be a good thing.
Well, it's been a good thing for me because it puts me in. I don't like a lot of stuff like the masses like, so it's able to put my art in front of people that doesn't appreciate it.
Man, and you have you've had your hands in a lot of stuff, ain't you?
Yes, sir.
What I was talking to Scooter one day, and Scooter's he's a good friend of ours, and well, he's my cousin, and I was talking to him one day, and he was telling me that there's a couple different things that you have experimented with other than like hats.
If I could figure out how to monetize all my stuff I do, I'd be in good shape, but I gave up on making money. Now I just worry about making friends, and that's what I do, and I feel like that's more important than making money.
Well, I know two people that have bought cowboy hats from me, and they are they absolutely love them. One of them's my general manager, Brad Wilson.
Oh yeah.
And then Tyrone came up there and bought one from you.
Yeah. When you said I know Brad, and then Tyrone, yep, sure did.
Yep, Brad is he's our general manager.
He's a good guy.
He is, man. And that place up there that I work, man, Hardy Chevrolet, that is there's a lot of places that you could work, and there's very few that's like that place.
Really?
The people, man, oh my gosh. It's like a bunch of Brads. They're just all good people.
That's good.
They're all good people, and they take care of you. And it's just, I'm very blessed to work for that type of company. Where are you working now?
I work my shop in the evenings every day. Then I work
Mhm.
for Matthew's Garage, and I drive a roll-off truck.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Do you know I had a CDL?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's been the smartest thing I ever did, get my CDLs.
I can't use mine anymore. They won't let me with seizures. But
Really?
no,
I had seizures too back when I was small. Last
No
one I had
kidding.
was when I worked at a rock quarry, and I don't have no more.
Mine started. No kidding. I don't. And it's the craziest thing. But mine started when I was 27.
Really?
Yeah.
First thing I ever had was in first grade, and I was in Miss York's class down there, and I was trying to play. I didn't have real bad ones where I was just falling out on the floor, flopping around, but I would just do something crazy. And
What we were getting to a minute ago was we were talking about CDLs. That's what it was. We're doing like Trump. He does the weave. That's what they call the weave.
is that what
Where
he
you
does?
talk about one thing, and then you go off over here and you start talking about this. And then he comes back. That's what he calls it. He calls it the weave.
Let's weave back to country music before we get done too.
Yeah, we got way back to country music.
Yeah.
We definitely got to go there. That's what I was wanting to talk about. Matter of fact, I got a lot to talk about with you. So my brain's I got a bunch going on up here. But we was talking about music coming back. Zach Top, you heard him? What do you think? Tell me true.
I like him.
There's something authentic there.
It's good.
Yeah.
He but you take and listen to the country music of the 70s, outside of the like Waylon the Willie and stuff like that. It got pretty crappy in that area with the orchestras and everything else, and
It did.
yeah,
It got kind of weird.
so it always just kind of works its way back.
Well, you know when Travis Tritt came into country, he was too rock, right? And then that became normal. And then Jason Aldean came in, and that was really rock.
Yeah,
That My Kind of Party, those type things, and it was accepted. So it's like country music takes these waves.
we take Leonard Skinner was
Oh,
the greatest thing ever, and
Yeah.
when they're deep tracks like 4 Miles of Rayford, can't get no better than that.
No.
But
No.
I think back on Travis Tritt a lot now. I think, why didn't I like him back in the 90s? But I think it was because the way he looked. Looked like a neighbor I had up there on the hill that got caught growing pot, and I didn't. He always put me in mind of him.
You I'm gonna have a bunch of laughs like that.
But I tell you something, Randy Travis, man, live, he's great. And I didn't really catch on to how great he was back then, but I do now.
Have you heard this song that they released of his?
Yeah.
That they use with the computer? That's AI thing?
I don't know what I think about that.
It obviously is fake, but it's insane that we can even do stuff like that.
Well, if we're going to do that, let's get me a new Hank Williams record out then. You know what? So,
Hey, you got a good point. Hey, there may be a whole new market just for that.
well, they
Just
did.
dead artists.
I did hear them doing Straight Outta Compton with Hank Williams singing it. Have you heard that?
No.
Yes.
I'll have to hear that. That is cool. Holy crap. Yeah, I and he's still out and about too. You know, he'll go to all these award shows and all kind of stuff. Oh, Randy's still getting it.
He's happy looking every time you see him too, ain't
He is. Rolling around, I mean, he don't like nothing slowed him down. I mean, other than
he? Right.
the obvious, but yeah, man, That's one of those that
Heroes and Friends. That's one of his. What a good song that is. He got a lot of good ones. But his voice. I ran into something online the other day. Him and George Jones singing one together. I think it was. I can't remember which one it was. But my goodness, how good that was.
he had a voice that was just out of this world. George Jones too, to me.
Yeah, they're that kind. The last great country music singer, I believe, was Alan Jackson.
And he's getting in rough shape.
I do think that Tyler Childers has got the potential to be in like on my Mount Rushmore.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you a big Tyler Childers fan?
I'm a big songwriter fan. I'm a Guy Clark, John Prine, Townes Van Zandt, Blaze Foley kind of guy. And to me, he's that kind of good.
Really? Honestly, what about like a Jason Isbell?
He's good.
That man writes. It's like he reads an encyclopedia. I mean, and reads an encyclopedia and just breaks down these words into this crazy way and can put it in a song. It's nuts.
But then I like that, and I like the way Townes Van Zandt can word a song just beautifully. But I like the way John Prine can just take simple words and make just such a beautiful song with it. Like Sam Stone talking about the Vietnam vet that come back and have drug addiction, and some of the best lines of any song ever was in that song right
and
there.
That's real stuff.
Yes, sir.
That's real stuff. And there's a lot of people out there that love country music that are waiting for that.
Yeah.
And there's still some out there. There's a lot still out there of real artists. You just don't hear them all.
It's a good thing about all those guys is when their music's never gonna die too. It's always gonna be there.
It's like an Amazing Grace.
Yeah.
That's one of them songs that song just don't die.
Oh.
It's just there, And I tell you who my favorite is. We talking about old country. My hands down, my favorite man, Shenandoah.
You like him?
Man, I love Shenandoah.
Marty Raven, good. Him singing Beulah Land. You made me when you said Amazing Grace, I was thinking of Beulah Land, and when I hear him sing Beulah Land, man, I don't think that's no better.
You ever seen that video of him with Cody Johnson doing a song in a church?
Yeah, I think I did see that.
Man, he left the band, I think, for like 17 years.
You went and played bluegrass.
Yeah.
And, he come to Dyersville when the tornado hit and did a benefit for Dyersville.
No kidding.
Sure did.
I didn't know that.
Out there at Cowboys truck stop.
Really?
Sure did.
Wow, that is awesome.
Man, what a voice he's got, though.
Oh my gosh! Still to this day, they're still dropping songs, and it's just sounds just as good as it did in the '90s.
To me, though, Alan Jackson, you can tell by the songs he wrote and that he knows about the same stuff I know about. He's just a country boy from Georgia, and it just. When I hear his voice, sometimes it's like hearing like a family member or something, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. And what's crazy is the number of them that come from Georgia.
I'm not proud of a lot of them, though.
Don't say them, because I know which ones you're gonna say. We ain't trying to get canceled now, Laney.
We can talk best ones out of. I can say the best ones though, kind of.
Yeah, say that.
Alan Jackson and Outkast.
Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Threw a little out. I mean, I love some. If you seen the playlist on my phone, you'd be like, there ain't no way. You'll go from some Vern Gosdin to some Snoop Dogg to some Shenandoah, and one of my favorite though is Eminem. I love some Eminem.
Well, that's kind of way I am too. But them young boys I work with, I'll come in there and we got a little driver's lounge with a TV and couch and everything, and they're playing all these new country singers.
Yeah.
That's got songs with rappers.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that.
Well, if you're gonna listen to rap, listen to rap. If you're gonna listen to country, listen to country. But there ain't no sense to taking both genres and making them suck.
I've never been a fan of that. I really haven't been a fan of that. And it's always kind of weirded me out. I don't know. It's something about it. And now I'm not, hey, do your thing. If that makes you happy, do your thing. I'm just not one of the ones that enjoys it, but there's an ass for every seat. Somebody likes it.
But then you take and you can think about what Bob Wills was doing in the 40s, where he's taking jazz and swing and country and mixing it all together and made something great. So when you know the history of country music, you can't really complain too much.
No, because like we said earlier, man, it all just comes back around. It's crazy. It really is, and I think people get bored. I think people get bored with it, and then somebody has to reinvent the wheel.
They think they do. In the 90s, I felt like I took it for granted that country music was always going to be that good. And it wouldn't.
So what, when did you start learning banjo?
When I started about 14 years old, I started hanging out down at the end of Snow Springs Road on where old Highway 140 comes out.
Yeah.
And these two boys that I went to school with, they'd come to Dyersville, then they'd move off somewhere, they'd come back to Dyersville, ride the bus and everything with them. And it was Jamie and Josh Maddox. And their grandpa is 95, 96 years old. He's still alive today. But he is just a master musician. And through hanging out with Josh and them, that's what got me into music there. And I guess I was about 15, 16. No, I was starting playing the guitar a little bit and trying other instruments. I think I was 18 years old before I ever got my first banjo. But I never did take off with nothing until I got that banjo, and then I really took off with it. But I was working down in Carrollton, and we was living. I lost my license and DUI, so I stayed over in Alabama with an old man named Andrew Kelly, and he was a moonshiner. And I would take moonshine back up to Dyersville on the weekends and sell liquor. And I traded Max Dutton a gallon of liquor for my first banjo that I got.
Was that an open face?
No, it was Framus is what it was. It was German that some soldier had brought back from when he was stationed in Germany. One of his kinfolk or something.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
I did a lot of good things with the banjo. I feel like I did a lot of cool stuff. Didn't never make a lot of money. Won some contests and
I was gonna say you've done some competitions with it.
Yeah, I got first place in Fort Payne, Alabama contest twice, 2 years in a row. I got second place in Tennessee. Then I got first, second, and third in Georgia.
Wow. Man, that's cool. That's what I remember you. That's what I remember you from is that old banjo picking.
One time, the Georgia Humanities for the Arts or whatever, and the Smithsonian, they come through documenting folk music in Georgia, and they come every region. They went down through there, and I was one of them that day in Northwest Georgia that they documented, and I was proud of that.
No kidding.
I got to be a part of the show there.
How cool is that? That's neat, man. You blow my mind when I watch you play it, though.
I appreciate that.
Because to me it doesn't make sense. To me it doesn't make sense. And I play guitar, but it doesn't make sense how you're able to do this.
Yeah.
That blows my mind. It's really crazy.
It's helped me on a lot of my guitar playing too, as far as the Travis style picking too. You know?
Yeah. I guess that's like chicken picking, sort of. Is that?
I think that's different. I ain't plumb sure. I think I ain't 100% sure.
I wonder if that's more like pulling
chicken
up
picking. I think some of them use a flat pick for and use the finger too. I'm not 100% sure.
I don't know. When it comes to breaking that fretboard down, I'm out. I know how to play enough chords to write a song.
Yeah.
I know how to get by.
You what's your songwriting process?
Well, here lately it's
not doing it.
No, here lately it's not good.
Yeah.
So my biggest struggle that I always felt like I had was I don't pay attention enough. And what I mean by that, to be a good songwriter, you got to always be thinking.
Well, you probably had 3 or 4 seizures right in the middle of a song, so it ain't your fault then.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, what I mean by it is you're riding down the road, right?
Mm-hmm.
You look up and you see this sign, and you're like, well, that's a song.
Right.
I don't pay attention enough.
Really?
Yeah, or me and you sitting here having a conversation, and then another person goes, ooh, that's a song.
Arlo Finch. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's got to be a good friend of mine. He's a songwriter. He's got a notebook, and all the time I say something, he puts it in his book. And sometimes I call him up. I say, "Here, put it in your book."
Oh,
But,
wow. You get some royalties off of it one day?
One day, maybe. He's pretty disappointing to me because he's older than me. He's like 60-something year old.
Yeah.
And me and him think a lot alike on a lot of things. And the fact that he ain't rich makes me think I'm never going to be rich neither. So I'm not looking for any money out of it.
Because he's that good of a writer.
Yeah, good don't sell. There's occasionally somebody can catch lightning in the bottle, like talking about Tyler Childers,
Yeah.
but it don't happen.
My comparison to that, man, is when I lived up in Nashville. We would go to these writers' nights, almost. So, I think the way it was like Mondays was Whiskey Jam. I want to say Tuesdays was Revival. Wednesdays was another bar, and then another one was another bar. But there was writers' rounds at these bars every night, right? So you'd go to these, and man, some of the songs you would hear would blow your mind.
Really good.
You're like, oh my gosh, what a hook! And it was these catches. You know what I'm saying? You know Laney Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
So I was there when she was coming up.
Really?
Right, and she had a song. It was one of the first ones like that blew my mind, and it was called Dreamcatcher. It was like, I can be your dream catcher.
Is she writing a lot of her music?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. She's that girl's real deal. She really is. That girl, I can 100% say that girl's a real deal. She is.
I usually don't get into music from a woman's perspective, but she's one of them that kind of make me feel good about the way things is going right now.
Yeah, and I think it's like we were talking about earlier, man. We keep going back to this, but I think that I think it's a full circle.
Are you familiar with Hunter Blaylock's music?
Where do I know that name from?
God, he's a great songwriter. Everybody needs to listen to Hunter Blaylock. He's got one song called Head Above the Waves.
Yeah.
And I'm doing my best these days to keep my head above the waves. And who can't relate to that in the last so many years?
Yeah. Yeah.
But man, it's so good.
That's cool. You were asking earlier, we did the weave again.
All right.
You were asking me earlier about my songwriting process. So usually it comes, it's very rare that I think of a hook to write about, but usually I say, I'm going to write a song. And then when I start, that's when something will hit me.
Well, I when it always just hit me all of a sudden. I got one that I'm working on and I'm stuck on, but most time when it hit me all of a sudden, and I would just write it in 30 minutes and have the melody and the chorus and verses and everything all together. And they might not be that good, but I got one now that I'm working on. My great uncle was put to death in an electric chair in 1955.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he was hauling liquor he was 17-year-old. He was hauling liquor out of around Ringo and Tunnel Hill down to Florida, and he ended up stabbing a man that he was working with. And they kept him till he was 18-year-old, and they put him to death in an electric chair. It's my mama's brother that I was real close to, my mama.
Are you kidding?
But I got a song, and my problem now is since I got a regular job, I can't smoke nothing, and my creativity don't work as good as it used to. So, but that's where I'm stuck on that song. I know
what I was going to say. So I know a buddy of mine. His name's Joey Thurman, and I actually did a podcast with his son on the last one.
Uh-huh.
Well, Joey, he's an actor, and he's a singer-songwriter, things like that. Well, I live here in Dallas. Well, he pulls me to the side one day. He's like, "Hey, man, I'm producing this movie. I want you to help me write this song." And it was kind of cool how he done it. He takes me to this graveyard. We go to this graveyard here in Dallas. I don't know if you've ever seen the one with the rebel flag. It was the Battle of New Hope.
Yes. I'm
okay.
familiar.
So it was a graveyard right there beside it. Well, he takes me in there and he points at this. Gravestone, and he says, "I want to write a song about that." Something like that. I may not be able to tell you the exact words, but what he got to was he said that line right there in the middle of the two dates. I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "It's the dash." And I said,
I like it.
And I said, "Oh, okay, I know what you're getting to." So he come to explain it. It ain't about that beginning or the end. It's about what you did. Right there in the middle. So that's one of those.
That's really good.
That's really good.
If his head's working like that, he's a songwriter too?
Yeah, as far as I know, he writes a lot of songs. As far as I know, he sings. He does. He mostly does acting, and
I did a little acting myself.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Was that like something with a tiger movie or?
No, it wasn't Tiger King.
King?
No, it wasn't Tiger King. But I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead and finish what you were saying.
No, that's it, man. He just he told me about that dash, and
That's brilliant.
I was like, "Ooh, okay, I see what you're doing." But I'm stuck on that song, so.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm stuck. I'm stuck like a damn boot in concrete. I'm stuck.
It was a soldier that fought and died at New Hope.
I don't know. I know that. So, have you ever been over there?
Yes.
Okay.
I love my Confederate history and Civil
I
War.
know. Yeah. So I didn't know a lot about it, man, and I always drove through there headed to work, and I always seen that, and I didn't know what it was, and then I come to find out that there was a battle there when they came up from Cassville.
Sam Watkins, he's from Columbia, Tennessee, and he was a private. His Company H. He wrote all of his memoirs in the Columbia, Tennessee paper after the war. And later on, he compiled them all into a book. And if you read that book, you got the best first-hand account of just what a common Confederate private witnessed. And so many great things in that book. Tells about the Battle of Adairsville, Cassville, New Hope. He got mixed up on order of New Hope Church and Cassville, but this is like 10, 15 years after the war. And
y'all, could you imagine?
Yes.
I mean, I'd get it messed up too.
There's several things that it would their morale would go down. And then next thing you know, they marched through a town and there's a bunch of pretty girls waving at them and wishing them luck. And the next thing you know, they're back up top. But they were starving to death. There was a time up in Tennessee where he was eating parched corn. All of them was eating parched corn, and he had his daddy was gonna come visit him from Columbia. He come over there. He had the idea that he was gonna introduce him to his commander, and they was gonna invite him in to eat supper. So he did that, and took his daddy over and introduced him to his commander, whatever he was. And he said, "Yeah, y'all have supper with us." Then they had a big old tent, sat down at the table, and then they brought the food out, and it was just parched corn that the commanders was eating too.
I couldn't even. I couldn't even begin to imagine the struggle then.
That's one thing I think about a lot of times. I hope I ain't being too gloomy, but people talk about how bad things are now. Can you imagine what it looked like then?
Do you imagine walking from here to Savannah?
Right. And you imagine like during World War II times. I mean, it had to look like the end of time was here.
That's some real men's what that was.
Yes, sir.
That's when we bred real men. That is for man. What a I could that and then Vietnam. You go to Vietnam and then you come back here and everybody hates you.
And yeah, right.
That was another slap in the face. Or you fight a war for 20 years in Afghanistan and then you just walk away from it like nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
And then you give them everything you got.
I got a good buddy Brandon Atwell up in Kentucky that served over in Afghanistan. He's a good guy, and I'm proud to be his friend.
Do you know? I know you know him, but I don't even know why I'm gonna ask it. But old Spanky, he works up there at Matthews, don't he? Matt, I don't know if he goes by Spanky. Southern's his last name. His brother's Levi Southern. I can't think of his first name because I've always knew him as Spanky.
Spanky guy played the band.
I want to say he was a welder.
He might work up in the fab shop or somewhere else.
Oh, so there's more.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They got a body shop too that I'm not around those guys.
I didn't even know that place was so big. I really didn't know that. Back when I had my CDL, I done a little roll off.
Did you?
Yeah, I done a little bit.
I like it
a couple times.
I like it pretty good. But getting my CDL has been smart because I don't even have to halfway look for a job, and I have one,
No,
and it'd be a decent job.
Yeah, and no matter what, I mean, I guess the world got bad enough, but no matter what, there's always going to be a need for it. Because food's always got to go from here to here,
yes, sir,
or something. So it's smart. It's very smart. I was very fortunate. I got mine through the military. I wasn't able to use it very long, but I got mine through the military, and it was. I learned then that it was one of the best things that you could get. So, what? You told me earlier to remind you of a story. Bigfoot. Tell me about Bigfoot.
Bigfoot. You ever been by Barnes Garden? I know you have.
Yeah.
But one of my first real jobs outside of working in farms and stuff like that, was helping doing the building of the golf course out there in Bigfoot. I mean out there Barnsley. I'm sorry. Anyway, Little Rock Cafe was open back then. It's back open now, and Jim Sarah Pinkard run it. But back then, Little Rock Cafe out there on the back street in the Dyersville was the place to go. So we went out there, got something to eat lunchtime, and they had me just working by myself. Now, this is just right after I quit school.
Yeah.
So I'm 16, 17-year-old. And they had me out there picking up rocks where they piled up rocks on the side of the logging roads back when they was logging it back years ago, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they was going to build a spillway out of it. So I got my belly full, and I got sleepy really. So I kind of dozed off up there, leaned up against a tree, or whatever. Next thing I know, woke up, and they was down in the holler right there. I was up on top of the hill, and there was a little old creek running right there. And we've been seeing some great big old deer out there, just big old monsters, you know. There was a little battle right there during the war too.
Oh, wow.
That's like maybe a mile or two from where I grew up. And when we'd ride through it back when I was a kid, you'd see the ruins up there, and it'd look real cool, like it was a castle in the woods, you know.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I heard them bushes rumbling down there. I said, well, I guess I'm going to get to see a deer. So I'm looking down there and there. Next thing you know, this big old thing jumps up. He stands up, and I guarantee he's 8 foot tall better. He runs up the top of the hill, and I was just frozen in fear, really. And then he beats on his chest and he goes roar, and he starts waving his arm. Next thing you know, a female Bigfoot jumps up, and it has holding a baby on her hip like a woman holds a baby, and a little toddler Bigfoot. And the toddler Bigfoot was every bit of my size now, And they run up the top of the hill, then they was gone then.
No kidding.
Yep. I don't think anybody's ever seen 4 of them at one time.
So everybody's been out looking for Bigfoot.
Yeah, everybody's
seen
seen
4 of them.
You see one of them. People see one of them here and there, but you don't ever see 4 of them.
You really think that's what it was?
I can't tell you what it was. I mean, it was. I mean, you could tell. It was easy to tell what gender they was because they had long brown hair all over their bodies, except for their parts.
Yeah.
So it was obvious that it was male, female, and It looked just like that one on Harry and the Hendersons too. If you remember that movie.
Oh wow.
A lot like that Jack Link on the Jack Link commercial.
I like Jack Link.
That they stuff the government just don't want to talk about and tell you about. They caught one down in South Georgia somewhere not too long ago.
Well, there's some drones going around right now, and they know what it is.
Well, I don't know if he is or not, cause the way Trump runs his mouth, if he had any kind of secrets, I bet he'd have told them.
Yeah. He just said it.
Yeah, he'd have said it.
What we got to get into some controversial stuff real here. If you don't care,
Hey, I'm all for
you
that.
down for it, ain't you? You
Yes,
don't care.
I don't care.
So, as a businessman, and we'll get into that as far as your business goes. As a businessman, I'm assuming that you really like the Trump administration.
Yeah.
As far as all that stuff goes, when you were, when he was in the first time.
Yeah, that's when I really took off when he was in the first time. Then COVID come in, and you'd think that it'd been the end of it because it was a pretty scary time, especially the first 2 weeks I was scared. And then
Oh yeah.
after that, I thought, well, ain't nothing I can do about it. Ain't no sense worrying about it. But everybody was online shopping, sitting at home online shopping. My business really took off during that time too. But then after he was gone, that next 4 years has just been progressively worse and worse and worse. And this last one has been terrible.
And you've really noticed it as a business owner?
And I've made more money, but I felt like I've had way less.
Is that because of maybe the business expense?
Yeah, and every daggum thing cost us so much more.
Really?
Yeah. And people's bad about small businesses. They think everything you get's higher than what it used to be, but they still think the small business is supposed to just give her stuff away.
Yeah. When really, I feel like you should be supporting that small business a little more.
And for a while after COVID, that was one thing I've noticed, that people cared more about local and small businesses. But I think all that's about out the window now.
Really?
Yeah.
So, it's like you said a minute ago, running his mouth. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a big fan of what he stands for. I really am. I feel like he stands for being from New York or wherever he's from. I still believe that he still believes in the American dream.
There's some things that make me think he does. And one, the no tax on overtime. If that happens, that's a big thing.
Oh man, that's huge.
And that's telling me he really cares.
That's huge.
Yes.
That is.
That's like a big raise.
As he would say, huge.
That's a big raise for me and my customer base. So.
Yeah, it's and one of my biggest things though, man, and I'm not afraid to tell this to anybody. I voted for Trump. You know what I'm saying? But here's the thing that I always told people about this, and I'm not afraid to say it. I just wish he would have shut up every now and then.
That's his problem, and it's not his fault that he wasn't raised in the South and ain't got no Southern manners. But that's his issue.
Yeah, it's not his fault, like you said. There was some. He said some wild shit. That is
Now, I don't think he's no saint. I don't think he's no whatever. And a lot of Christian folks think that he's a godsend, and he might be, 'cause God's used me to do different stuff, and I sure ain't no saint neither, you know.
Yeah. He
But I just think if God's gonna pick somebody, surely to goodness they could pick somebody with a little bit more better manners than that, though. That's my opinion.
well,
You gonna get everybody hating me, but I did vote for him all time, so nobody hate me too much.
he did vote for him, folks.
Yes.
So don't hate old Laney too much. He did vote for him.
You don't vote for anybody no more. You vote against somebody.
And I know who we voting against.
Yeah.
That's a fact. Well, this is what I'm going to say about that. When it comes to that election, I sat up here and watched every bit of it when I was in bed, and I just couldn't believe it. I kept watching state after state after state turn red, and I tell you exactly what it was. America was tired of the bullshit. Like they're tired of being lied to. They're tired of being told to shut up. They're tired of being told to believe in something that they don't believe in. It's almost like you're in this video game. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It's been like the Twilight Zone for sure. It's been like, I can't believe this is going on.
And then your ex-president, future president, now president-elect, somebody tries taking his head off, and how long did that last on the news?
Then he jumps up and pumps his fist or does whatever.
Hey,
That's
one of the, to me, that's one of the cool. That's right there is that American pride.
That's when he won it. That's when he won this election right there, I believe. 'Cause I'd be slithering like a snake trying to get out there on my belly. Somebody shooting at me. I say, I'm rich. Y'all can have this country. I'm going to Mexico.
Is that not another thing though that blows your mind? Like the man is just loaded. Why has he got to do it?
Yeah.
I don't know. So you agree with me? It's probably just about shutting up.
Exactly.
Shut your mouth.
Stay off of Twitter, this and that.
I never agreed with that part.
If we talking about politics, tell you somebody else. Okay. That Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with her much?
A little bit. I know the name.
She ain't no count.
So,
one thing, here's what she did. She goes to the Battle of Chickamauga up there. Second bloodiest battle of the Civil War. And there's this monument out there. It's a big old tower, and you got to climb that thing. You got to walk these steps, and you go around and you go around. Time you get up there, if you're in shape like me, you just a huffing and a puffing. But you can. It's beautiful when you get up there. You can see all the green fields and everything. But like I said, it's beautiful now. But at the time, it's second bloodiest battle of the Civil War, so it's a bad place.
Yeah.
So she gets up there and does her little photo op and puts her hand on her chin, looks out across there. Then she gets down and goes to posting on social media that she had to stop and visit the Wilder Brigade Monument in Chickamauga. It's her favorite place. It's a monument that honors the brave Confederate soldiers of the Civil War. Only problem is the Wilder Brigade was a Union brigade. So you took time to climb all those steps, but you couldn't took 5 minutes to read the plaque down before the steps. Yeah, but that's your typical politician move right there.
100%. You mentioned Twitter a minute ago. We sound like a bunch of Trump haters up here. I voted for it. I'm not even a hater.
Me too. But I miss the days when just old people had to worry about politics, and we could just do whatever.
It's very true.
Now,
that's very true.
I guess we're old.
You know, when we was talking about Twitter, you know, I said that one time. You know, I said, man, why is he on social media doing all this? Like, I've never seen this growing up. I've never seen a president do this. And somebody looked at me and they said, because that's the only way they can get his word out. Because the rest of the media has got him on silent.
When people say that getting their news off social media, but at this point, it's just as good a place as any, because I don't believe anything anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's all a fantasy. It's and we could get deeper into that, but I'm gonna try not to get canceled on this episode.
I probably wasn't a good choice.
I don't know. I really don't give a shit, to be honest with you. But
I ain't said nothing too bad yet.
You ain't said nothing too bad. No, I'd kick your leg. I'd be like, hey man,
Yeah.
hey, don't say that. No, but
that's the way people are nowadays. If you don't believe just like them, both sides,
you're whacked.
Republicans and Democrats, are the same exact way.
Yeah.
And I've always been pretty good about when I got into playing old time music, I was around a lot of folks that grew up different, folks that believed different than what I was. And I could tell they didn't know about the same stuff I knowed about. And I didn't know about what they know about, you know. But we all just got along. But it's just been different in the last several years with the Confederate monuments being tore down and everything else. I'll say something funny. Ask me something funny. I do better than that.
Oh, man. Ask you something funny. That's a tough one. Because I don't know where you're going to go with it. All right. I'm gonna ask every guest this on this podcast. That's my new segment, Laney. You just come up with my new segment. Tell me something funny. Tell me your favorite story. You're sitting in jail, and they said the way you gonna get out. You tell me something funny.
Man, I hope I don't go back to jail. Dang. Now I'm put on the spot. I will tell about one time. This ain't funny, really. It's kind of hard to talk about. But one time we was deer hunting up in Jasper, and we was camping out up there on top of this hill. Went on down, and this holler went on around this way, kind of like a C shape, you know.
Yeah.
It's me and my daddy and great uncle. My daddy's uncle was up there, and there's a bunch of old fellers, and there's big old guys. And they talking about the sure enough country boys. One of them so big, he had to take straps off his old overalls to sew them to his new overalls before they'd fit around him. He was so big. But anyhow, we was all eating, having a good time. Then everybody was joking around, said if you see a bear, holler like a bear and you're scared off. That's what they kept on telling me. I was, I don't know, 17, 18-year-old then. And then I took and started having to use the bathroom. So I walked down the side of the hill there. There's a log laying down there, and I always try to find me a log when I was grading or logging or doing anything I did. I always try to find me a log to use when I used the bathroom.
Oh, I was in the Army. I remember.
Yeah. And you know how when you get out there in the dark and your eyes start getting adjusted, you can start seeing something. But then I seen something black, and I said, man, I bet that's a bear coming. I hope that ain't a bear. And sure enough, it kept on getting closer and closer, and I could tell he was a bear. And so I didn't have my gun with me. I don't know what I'm going to do. So anyhow, I said, I guess I'm going to holler like a bear, see if I can scare it off. So I hollered like a bear, but it didn't work, because evidently what I hollered was the mating call. Anyway, I ended up living with him for 6 months there in a cave up there in Jasper before I snuck off away from him.
Oh, man, I knew it. Well, you took the number one spot so far.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
He come in. That's one thing I still like my squirrel rare, because I'd eat it just plumb raw, but I like to heat it up a little bit now if I want to eat a squirrel. He'd bring in squirrels every day. I had to skin them squirrels for him. And then all my clothes was tore off of me, just shredded. I got scars on my back like you wouldn't believe from that bear.
He made you stay naked?
Well, I guess.
Damn.
Easy access, whatever. But I'd stick them squirrel skins all over my body. I look like a Bigfoot time it's over with.
All right. So I don't know if we're gonna beat that one. So
You probably cut that out.
no, I won't cut. I don't cut nothing out.
But I tell you, go ahead. I didn't.
Well, what I was going to ask you, because I was going to ask you this earlier when we got to talking about Civil War monuments and stuff, the history of that. What you did a lot of reenactments, right?
Yeah, I used to do that. Well, my oldest son was young teenager. Me and him did some of it together, and I thought it was something me and him could do together. You know.
Yeah.
Now he helps me in the hat shop, so we still got something to keep us close.
Good. Is he living in Daresville?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So what was your part? I guess you would say.
Well,
I know you played banjo a little bit.
yeah, that was my favorite part because doing the military stuff,
Yeah.
it's too much like work for me. And it was a lot of times just like what it was back then, you know.
No kidding.
That's how they'd treat you. They'd yell at you and everything else. And I think, man, I'm doing this for fun. I don't want to be yelled at.
I ain't getting a damn paycheck.
Yeah. And so I started doing like a civilian. I just played the banjo. I played a lot of the dances and stuff. I was making a lot of banjos at the time, the Civil War era banjos, and I'm shipping them all over the country.
Yeah. What was I going to ask? Where do they have those now? I'd like to go to one and see it.
The Battle of Resaca is the biggest one in Georgia that they have every year.
How often do they do it?
In May every year.
May. Can you remind me
I'll
next
try
time
to.
they do that?
Now up there, they got some of the original Confederate trenches that you'll be in and stuff. It's on the original battlefield.
No kidding.
One of my favorite. I went and did the 155th Battle of Shiloh, and it was just amazing. We stood there on the original battlefield, and it seemed like a mile or two of horse-drawn artillery come by, and it was really like time travel. Except we wasn't really getting shot, but everything looked just like it was. And that's my favorite part of it, when all the spectators is gone and you're just there playing the banjo or the fiddle around the campfire, and everything looks like the 1860s. Pretty cool.
They say that, or what I've always been told, I'm ignorant in that category, but what I was always told was after all the fighting was done, hell, they'd go sit around and play cards.
Well, Sam Watkins, when I was talking about a while ago, wrote his memoirs down. There's a part down there in the Siege of Atlanta where he was in there playing the cards with a bunch of Yankee soldiers, and their commander come in and they hit him, you know, all kind of stuff like that. And there's places up there in like the Battle of Resaca where they'd go down and trade for stuff with each other.
Yeah. That's cool. Where do they get their uniforms and stuff?
Everybody always told me, said, don't get into it. I always wanted to all my life because I used to do a reenactment over at Barnsley, and I always wanted to. But everybody said, don't get into it unless you got plenty of money. And I never did have plenty of money, but finally I said, heck with it, I'm going to do it anyway. It really don't cost that much. You can get used stuff from other people, and you don't want to look like you're brand new anyhow.
The last segment I want to get into, man, and I'll let you, I know your nerves are shot. You feel a little better now?
Yeah, I feel pretty good now.
There we go.
I was worried about my breathing. I got one more thing I was wanting to tell you about.
Tell me.
No, you go ahead with what you say.
Well, this is going to be a long one, so tell me what you want to say.
This might be pretty long, too. It didn't ever take off like I thought it was going to. You talking about I had my hands in all kind of different things, you know.
Yeah.
It was one of the things I thought was going to be my ticket. But so you take, they have dog racing down in Florida and places, and they got horse racing all over, you know, where they race horses.
Yeah.
And to me, I can't stand cats, but I thought my grandma had about 20 cats that she'd feed on the sawhorses with some boards across there. Couldn't touch none of them. She had an idea that, I don't know, she fed them. You couldn't touch them or nothing, you know. So I was thinking down there one day, I said, you know, cat racing might really take off, and it might be a sport and be a nationwide sport. So I caught me one of them cats, and I'd run him, take him out there to Daresville, run around the track of the football field out there where it used to be the football field. And I had a radar gun. I clocked that thing. I got looking at him. So, well, he ain't real aerodynamic. So I took and fixed his ears for his wouldn't so much wind resistance. And I'd clock him again. He'd be about 10, 15 mile an hour faster. So I got thinking he don't need all that hire on him, you know. So I got me some Nair and I rubbed all over that cat. He was just bald headed, just slick as all get out.
Yeah.
And I clocked him again, man. He's getting on up there, man. He's really doing some running. I got thinking, all that tail, he don't need all that tail. That's just another weight, you know.
Dragging him down.
So I got trimming his tail off. I trim an inch or two off of him. I take him out there, we'll run him again, clock him. Man, that thing is getting it. End up got his tail too short. And every time he'd go around the curve, his hind end was too light and he'd spin out in the curve. But then my daddy, he worked up there in between Daresville and Calhoun at Fafner Barnes. And I had some steel ball bearings.
Yeah.
So I ended up sticking them ball bearings up his hind end, getting his weight down in the back. And by the end of the time, I had him running about 65 mile an hour.
That's, oh man.
But it didn't ever take off, but they wouldn't have nobody had a cat that could give him any competition anyway, you know.
I mean, how they gonna beat it?
Yeah, you right.
I mean, well, that ain't no sport if somebody can't beat it.
That's right.
All right, Laney, that beat the other one. All right, well, let's get into this right here, and then we'll hop on out of here, brother.
That sounds good.
So, tell me, cowboy hats.
Okay.
How did it get started? When did you actually start making cowboy hats? And kind of tell me that story right there.
I tell you, it's one of my favorite things to talk about, really, because I don't like to be serious about a whole lot of stuff ever, but I can be if I need to be. But when I was young, I didn't, like I said earlier, I didn't really fit in with a lot of people, and I was always different, and I didn't ever have a lot of friends on kind of some stuff that happened to me as a kid, and I had a lot of problems growing up. But my mama was a social worker. She was the first social worker in Daresville. When she come and started her mission, she did it for free all through the 80s into the early 90s. Then the county picked her up and they started paying her because they seen how much good she was doing. And she was able to retire from that. And I'm real proud of my mama for that. But anyhow, there was an older man that lived down there. He's an elderly man. He lived down there on the south end of Daresville. And I made friends with a lot of old people back then. I didn't have a lot of friends my age. He loved the West, and he would give me books and stuff. I always been a big reader, like to read, and I always loved Western cowboy stuff and everything.
You're a big reader, you say?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
I was reading before I ever started school. Reading's always just been easy to me, but math has always been the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I think it's hard to a lot of people.
But the thing about him, his name was Gene Hall. And he was one of them old men that collected a lot of old stuff, and he'd been all over the West. And he used to give me cowboy hats. I'd go over and see him, but I wouldn't go over to see him to get stuff. But he was one of them smart enough to know he ain't going to be around forever, and I'd rather give his stuff to somebody that appreciated it.
Yeah.
And I always think about that now, how I won't get emotional thinking about it, but I don't want to. But how being kind to somebody can have a long-term lasting effect the rest of their life.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, being mean to somebody can do the same thing. So you got to really think about how you treat people.
You never know.
And anyway, I was always into making stuff, and I always been into wearing hats, and I got a really big head, and I can't just go to the store and find one to fit me. So I started making me some hat blocks. I started figuring out how to make hats. And then I took and went up to Winchester Hat Corporation up in Winchester, Tennessee, and that's where they make all the felt blanks that all the hat makers use.
Oh, really?
And I was up there for something Civil War related with my son when we was running around up there. And I said, let's go over there where they make them hat bodies, 'cause I knew that's where they come from. So I went in there, and talked to a feller, told him I was interested in making hats, and he gave me 12 second hat bodies. And I went back home and I practiced with them 12. He's a real nice guy, but you couldn't tell it by the way he acted.
Yeah.
He just didn't have no kind of. If you look at you, you'd think he hated you,
Right.
But he took and gave me him 12, and I went home and practiced, and he put me in contact with Mike Moore. He's out in West Tennessee, so far out in Tennessee, you don't even feel like it's in Tennessee, but he put me in contact with him. He's an older man that's been in the hat business for a long time, and I ended up making good friends with him. He made the hats for the I Saw the Light movie that they did about Hank Williams not too long ago.
Yeah.
You seen that?
Yeah.
And he helped me a whole lot, and I've been really blessed. I've made hats for Verlin Thompson, and Verlin Thompson was Guy Clark's guitar player.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I made hats for Sons of the San Joaquin, Jack Hanna and Lon Hanna, and Roy Rogers Jr. I made him a hat, but one of my favorite ones, I've been a Lonesome Dove fan ever since it come out in 1989. So that's just really just I don't know. I won't want to say changed my life, but really made me like the things I still like to this day.
Yeah.
But there's an actor in there called Barry Corbin. He played Roscoe Brown. He played on The Ranch with Sam Elliott, and he played on Conager. He played on about near every Western movie.
What did he look like?
He played on the Urban Cowboy too.
Okay.
He was the uncle that passed away. They went to the funeral.
What did he look like on the ranch?
I have to show you a picture when we get done. But I went out to Fort Worth, Texas a few years ago, and I met him. Got my picture took with him. It was just I was out there for Red State Gauls Cowboy Gathering. It's the first time I ever been to Texas since I've been grown, but I really love that place right there. But he's just a regular old feller, and just told him I wanted to make him a hat, and he's all for that because he's a big hat feller, Then talked to him on the phone. He told he said, "Come on out here and I'll take y'all supper." So I took on, me and my buddy Jeremy, him's been friends since 3rd grade. We took off out there, and he thought we was from Texas. He didn't know we was driving from Georgia.
Oh.
But he took us out to eat, and got to make him a hat, and that meant a lot to me. And you know how people's real crazy about Star Wars? I don't know if you are or not, but
No.
I ain't neither. But
No.
I used to think those guys was kind of dorky, to be that crazy over a movie. But then I started realizing I'm the same way about Lonesome Dove.
About different stuff. Yeah.
So I don't knock them for liking it.
So what's the process?
You start out with a hat body. When you measure their head, and that'll determine what block. But it starts out with a hat body, and
is it already got the cap up there?
It's kind of like it right there. And
Okay.
one hat body can go be several different sizes.
Okay.
And there's just a lot of steaming, sanding, ironing, and I bought a lot of equipment when they were sending those stimulus checks that helps me still.
Yeah.
And it's real. A lot of the celebrities I was talking about that I'm proud of. I did all that, but just making a hat for somebody, I made them for people all over the country, different countries and everything else. Every state in the West, every state in the South, up in Alaska, a lot of the northern states, but mainly the West and the South. And
No
somebody's just
kidding,
going to put their hat on day in, day out, and just basically live in something you made, and just been in contact with people like that. That's meant a lot to me.
Oh my gosh, man. And it's a piece that they paid for, that they got pride in.
But like before,
and they know it came from
right,
someone like you.
And before the internet, I still think I would go back to life before the internet, when say your grandparents were still alive and things was a lot simpler. But before the internet, I would just be some weird dude in Dyersville that nobody cared about what he was doing. But the fact that I can put my stuff out there for everybody means a lot to me. My paintings and stuff like that, my wood carvings. I got wood carvings in museums, and I got a hat in a museum out in Hyco, Texas that was a Billy the Kid replica hat. And I even got, probably the closest. Sometimes I brag, but I sure can't brag about having money. But I did some cool stuff. I don't want to sound like a bragger.
No, you right.
But I made this Billy the Kid replica hat, and I even used dust from Lincoln County, New Mexico, to distress it that where he killed Bob Ollinger and Deputy Bale and broke out.
No way.
So I think that's probably the closest.
You got to show me a picture of that.
Closest replica of a Billy the Kid hat.
How'd they get in the museum?
I took it out there too.
Really?
Yeah.
That is awesome, man.
I got I used to make little wood carving dancing men and stuff like called lumberjacks. I got one of them up in Cumberland Gap Museum and did different stuff like that, but nothing that's pretty satisfying, and all the friends that I've made all over the world. But as far as money, I don't care much about it anyway. Just as long as I got enough to get by, my kids ain't hungry.
That's
I'm
right.
good.
That's right. How for anybody that wants a hat out there, how do they go about finding you, brother?
LaneCreekCustomHatters.com. Find me on Facebook or Instagrams under Lane Creek. It's confusing because my name's Laney House and I go under Lane Creek for my business name, but reason that is my son that died in 2015, his name was Laney too. He was born on my birthday, and whenever I was a young boy, Principal Mr. Drew out there in Adairsville had a son that passed away in a car wreck, and he made the Jason Drew Memorial Food Drive. And I wanted something to and that food drive helps local people, families, and everything. Still, every year my kids participate in it just like I did when I was a kid. I wanted something to keep Lane's name alive. That's what we called him, Baby Lane. And so that's what I did. And every so often we'll donate to the Ronald McDonald House, because if anybody's got any money to donate, the Ronald McDonald House is a wonderful organization.
Is that the one that's by Children's Hospital in
Yeah,
Atlanta?
that's where. And we was in Chattanooga though.
Okay.
But they put them beside the children's hospitals, and any families that was going through something, they can stay nut for nothing or next to nothing, and they're just a good place.
So I want to say my little brother, when he was a baby, my mom might have slapped me because I forgot this, but I want to say he had E. coli maybe when he was a baby and had to be in Atlanta. No, I take that back. I'm lying to you. I want to say my stepdad, when I was a baby, he was hit on a motorcycle right there at Cassville White Road on the bridge right there, and so he was down in Atlanta, and I want to say there was some type of place like that we had to stay, and it might have been one of those, but anyway, neither here or there. But I think it's great that there's people out there still that.
Oh, that's a good place.
And saying that's another thing, that's another thing is we see all this bad.
There's
a lot of good still.
That's one thing it was the awfulest time of my life when I was losing Lane, but one thing I remember is realizing how much good there still was in the world, and I really enjoyed that. And when me and Casey, when he passed away, we held him as his little heart stopped, and it was the most peaceful experience I've ever felt. It was just like, you know how when you watch a TV show and it's a dream, how they have it foggy around the corners.
Oh yeah,
that's the way it seemed like both of us remember it, and it was just. And some people don't believe in God, and that's one thing I was talking about a while ago. Nobody knows anything, and I don't know much of anything, but I know there is a God.
There absolutely is, because on days like that,
I mean, how could you stand
it? Yeah, absolutely.
And it was most peaceful experience of my life during that.
It's a very unbelievable. I've never been in that position because I can't speak for that, and that's awful, and I couldn't even. I couldn't even imagine. But I remember when my daughter was born, and I know for a fact I saw God that day.
Did you?
I mean that, not physically,
Right.
but I seen God's work.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And that was
You could write a song about that, but I think go straight them.
I know it. That's exactly it. I saw God today. That's right. Well, Laney, you took this podcast on short notice, man, and I'll never forget that.
I hope I did okay. I wasn't too bad nervous.
You tore up at first.
Yeah, I was. I was worried about my breathing and everything else. And
no, so they got editing software for that.
Yeah.
But dude, I couldn't be more happy that you came up here and done this. It means the world to me, and I want people to know who you are, because you're one of a kind, brother.
Well, I appreciate it, buddy.
So y'all go get your cowboy hat. Tell me what it is again.
Lane Creek Custom Hatters in Adairsville.
That's right,
Find me online. I play the banjo for you.
Oh yeah, and that's another thing.
Yeah.
Hell of a banjo player. Hell of one.
And if anybody's got any cats they want to match against mine, they can bring them on too.
Well, Laney, buddy, I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, man.